Today we have a 2013 Infiniti G37X Coupe. The customer is saying when they apply the brakes, the rear end shakes. And they said the right side is really bad, so we're going to take it apart and check it out. But I'm pretty sure it's just going to need brakes and rotors. We'll show you where they're located and how to do it. Okay, first we're going to do is we got some 19s. We're going to remove the wheel. So now we're going to change the brakes and rotors. There's a 14 here and a 14 here that holds the caliper on. And there's a 19 up here on the top and one on the bottom. And what I'm going to do, for whatever reason, this kind of runs into it right here with a ratchet on it or something like that. I'm actually going to pull these 19s and take these off when I get it up on top. Got the top one almost out. If you got limited space, the gear wrench is really nice for getting in there. For whatever reason, it was engineered, or if you're not careful, if you put a gear wrench or something on here, if you back it up without it opened in, you're going to run right into this and maybe get stuck on there. So I'm just going to use the open end like this all the way out and get this off of there. Once we got these two out, I'm just going to bring it up like this. And then, because these have limited space also, I'm just going to hit these with a gun and get these out now that it's out of the way. There's one. Sockets are a little wore out. Your emergency brake is on the inside of this, and sometimes you got to give a little persuasion to come off. Just give it a little wiggle. It should pop out, hopefully. Just like that. We got these from Advance. They got a 2-year warranty on them against warpage. Every time you want to match them up, make sure they're exactly the same thing. And they are. So what we got to do is clean them next. Okay. They come with a residue on them to keep them from rusting when they're in the warehouse. So of course you got to take that off every time. Otherwise it might mess up your pads. Flip it over. Go install these. Sometimes you have to adjust your emergency brake, but this one seems to be just right. I guess this is an inspection hole. And for whatever reason, when you buy the rotor, they do not give you a new rubber. So you have to take it out of the old one. Well, that's what I'm told. This is an inspection hole, but I'm not really sure. But just make sure you put the rubber back in there so it doesn't get any moisture or dirt in there. Just like that, just pop it back into place. And you can tell the difference. These, of course, are the new pads. These are the old ones. And there's nothing left of them. So that's why we're replacing them. So we took the old ones off. We cleaned these up good. You can use a wire brush, you can use a file, whatever you got, and install the new ones. Just clip them down in position. Make sure they snap in, just like that. A lot of times you can do it when it's on the car. Sometimes I just do it like this, slide them in place. So I just slide that on, and they're actually where they gotta be. Like that. I just put the 2 bolts on the back to hold the caliper bracket. I started those by hand just because there's limitation here on this. And I get a ratchet, make sure you're going the right direction. Snug this baby up. Right there. Now do the same. Now if you're backing this out, you can run into this and you get it stuck, so be careful on that. So I didn't do it that way. Okay, tighten that one up. Okay. Now a lot of times you got to put a brake pad or something in between here. This happens to be exactly the same size as the puck, so I'm just going to push it back, and you want to make sure it goes back that easy. One finger like that. Otherwise, if it doesn't, your caliper is messing up or sticking. Just like that, that easy. You can take your brake, the master cylinder cap off if you like. I've never found it necessary, but you can if you want it to bleed out a little. Okay, just when it snugs down like that, you don't have to reef on it. You see that's nice and flush, just like that. That's how you want it. I like to use this, just anything to keep the pads in that from squeaking a little. Spray that on both sides. Now that you get that pushed back, you want to slide that over there. And make sure just like that right there. Okay, make sure your line isn't kinked, which it's not. And this one is the top one, and apply plenty of grease. So that's what keeps this slide pin moving back and forth for hopefully 30 or 40,000 miles. Just like that. We do the same thing to the bottom one. Got to make sure those rubbers are in place. Start the bottom one, slide it in, just like that. Okay. Now, you could use a wrench. I'm just using this gear wrench. It works really well because on the bottom I have limited space. Snug there. Down, do the same thing on the bottom. Snugged up with the gear wrench, but I'm gonna use this for just a little more leverage. That's plenty tight. And the bottom one, I can't get on there, so I'm just gonna have to get a longer wrench. So just a quick recap. We put the pads in place, greased it up well, put the 19s in, and you did those by hand because it's limited space. Then tighten those up, did our 14s here, snugged them up, tighten them up with a longer wrench. The last thing we do, install the wheel. Put it on a crossing pad. And that's all it takes to put rear pads and rotors on a 2013 Infiniti G37X.